Business credit cards make life easier for you in so many ways on your personal side and on your business side, because you need those credit scores to get that fix and flip loan or that DSCR loan or that other bank loan or anything else you could do.
All right. Hey, Mike. So what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to go over business credit cards, why it's one of the most important things, and it's a simple thing that all investors can do.
Okay, business credit cards.
Yep.
Do you see people using their personal cards for this sort of work? Is that why this is something that...
It's probably 70 to 80% of the problem that we see people coming to us because they get into business and the easiest thing to do is use what you have available, which is your personal cards. Easy to do, but then it makes life a lot more complicated as you get into investing. It doesn't matter if you're doing flips or you're doing rentals. The cash flow company, our whole goal is to make this as simple as possible. We always talk about leverage or funding. This business is reliant on funding to create the growth, to create the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to make it easier for you. One of the easiest things to do is stop using personal credit cards and get into the simple business credit cards because they don't report in your credit. Putting business charges on your personal credit, what it does is it drives down your score and makes everything just tougher. So that's what I wanted to go over today. What are they? How do you get them? And what are some of the other benefits you could use for credit cards? Because we're always talking about how do we make this easier, faster for other people and cheaper. At least it's somewhere between 70 to 80% of the people that we have that come with problems is it's just because they're using their personal credit cards, putting too many charges on it because they're fixing something up, they're growing their business, whatever it is, and it drives down their score. And then they go try to get a loan. And guess what? They're denied or they have to put more money in or whatever. The better the credit score, the better the funding you can get to create this wealth. So we just want to make sure something this simple is something that everyone should be doing.
That makes sense, yeah. Especially because, as we've talked about, credit scores become much more important. It's always been important, but now it's like way more important, right? Because you were saying recently that it used to be you could get a loan with a certain credit score, but now you're going to be denied.
Yep. We see it almost daily now because we do some of these kind of usage loans to help people fix their credit. But more and more daily, people are just calling and just saying, hey, I need an extra 18 points and another 20 points because they won't give me a new loan for a flip. Or they're going to charge me an extra 10 to 20% down because my score is lower. 2 years ago, you could add a 620, 640, and all it meant is you went from 4% to 5%. And now if you have a 640 or 660 and sometimes even a 670, you're just going to be denied. You're not even going to have an option. So credit scores are important. Leverage is important to create this wealth. So we just want to make sure you do it right. And this is a simple thing to do. Everyone has credit cards. Everyone's using them. So why don't we just make the switch over to business credit cards? And I think some of the things that people kind of slow down for because they hear about business and they hear about this corporate credit where you have to build everything through this like tier 1, tier 2, Dun & Bradstreet. And it takes months and years to do that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the same credit cards you use now, just in your business name. And all it does is it takes them and puts them, when it puts it in your business name, it does not show up now on your personal credit report. Since it doesn't show up, it does two things. It helps your credit score. And two, you never have to worry about it in your DTI or in your personal life or even when you're applying for a loan. So everyone has credit cards. Why can't we just make the switch over to business credit cards? And it's just because most people don't understand it or know it or get trapped in between that. It's like this corporate credit that you get into and it just takes years to build. This is something that's due right away.
So if I'm hearing you right, it's like it's not this corporate credit card that takes years to build. We're just talking about creating, putting like the same card you would use in your personal life that you probably already use, just do it in your business name, and then it's going to cover all sorts of problems. It's not going to end up affecting your credit score.
Yep.
That's wild. Why don't people know this,
If you have really good credit and you're just starting a business, you could get a business credit card right now. Go to Chase, go to American Express. Any of those, they'll give you at least somewhere to start. It might be only $5,000, but it's somewhere to start. The thing with business credit cards, you do have to have a real business, operating as a real business. And most investors do have a real business because they have an LLC or anything else like that. It's just a quick setup just to make sure it looks and is running like a business. And then it's just building that credit over time. Because the other beautiful thing about business credit cards is it's the same, just like you said, it's the same Chase that maybe has a Southwest or United or Marriott or whatever, or it's an American Express that has Delta. It has the same benefits. It's just in your business name, does not report to your credit. But the more you use in business and business credit cards, those companies just love to give you more available credit. As soon as they see that you're using it and you're paying it down in chunks, not your minimum payment, you could go from 5 to 10 to 30 to 50 real easy.
Wow. Okay.
And I think that's what some people are like, they're only going to give me $5,000 or $2,000 to start, but start moving it over if that's what you need to do, because it's going to make life so much easier. 6 months from now, you can have everything over. 2 months from now, you can have everything over. It just depends on where you're at.
And is it true that it doesn't affect your credit score? Like, my mind goes to what if you miss the payments on it? Is it going to affect your credit score then?
If you stop making payments, if you don't pay it as agreed, yes, then it will show. So we're talking about people who are taking care of their credit.
Gotcha.
To get these business credit cards, you have to have good credit and you have to maintain good credit. So it never reports. But yeah, if you stop paying on anything, sooner or later, it will show up on your credit report. So
makes sense.
Make sure you're paying it on time as agreed, or it's going to affect you.
But it's that the usage, like the credit utilization rate or whatever. You could be using all 5,000 if you have 5,000, and it's not going to be dinging your credit score. Whereas like on a personal card, I think you said it was 20% or something.
Typically, if you're above 20%, it starts decreasing your credit score.
Yeah.
So they won't like to see it. So you could have a $10,000 credit card, personal credit card, and be using 3,000 of it, and it's affecting your score. You could have a $5,000 business card and have it $4,800, and it's not going to affect your score at all. So once again, even if you have a little bit less available over here, you can max it out, and more likely those cards are going to raise it. The other beautiful thing of the American Expresses and the Chase and some of the other ones, BOK, is once you get into it, they start offering you business loans. Almost weekly, I get something like, hey, here's a $30,000 business loan. Hey, it's like a term loan, so it's like cash. So when you're an investor, you have to figure out ways to bring money in so you're not always in a cash crunch. And part of that is you can use your credit cards for down payments and escrow by just going through one extra step. You can use these cards for so many different things, and they're not going to affect your score. So this tool, the business credit card, helps you not only just pay the people who accept credit cards, but if you set it up right, there's a couple services out there where I could call one of these services and say I have $10,000 on my credit card, and I say, hey, I'm going to buy this property. I need to put $5,000 down. They'll take it off my credit card, pay the title company or whoever the $5,000 for my earnest money or down payment. And guess what? I put a property under contract by just using my cards, and it's a business card, so it's not going to affect my score. And when I sell that property, refinance it, I'm going to pay everything back, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. So
yeah,
business cards have a lot of flexibility, a lot of use. The biggest thing is it's just not going to hurt you if you're running up those balances, and almost every investor runs up their credit card balances.
It makes sense. Yeah, you're like trying to use the leverage, which we talked about, right? The leverage that you have available to you, and that's one form. It's almost like if you're using a personal credit card, the system is gamed against you from the beginning because it's like, here's the leverage, but it's a deception in some ways from a business perspective because you can't use more than 20% without it affecting your credit score, which will cause you to be unable to get leverage in other situations.
Yeah, maybe not get it, but at least have to pay more. If you it just makes it harder, costlier when you go in and do stuff like that. And the other thing is like, let's say you're a business owner doing flips or doing rentals, and you have all this debt on your personal credit, and your wife or someone wants to go get a new car, or you need a HELOC or something else like that. Guess what? Not only does that personal credit affect your credit score, but it's also going to affect what they call your debt to income. The lenders who are looking at lending you money are going to look at, hey, you have $75,000 in credit cards. You have to account for that with your income. And you're like, well, that's my business. And they're like, well, it's on your personal. And you could go back and forth. You could show them, but just to make it easy, if you put everything on your business, it never shows up. You never have to let them know, because on your personal side, it's not going to report. So business credit cards make life easier for you in so many ways on your personal side and on your business side, because you need those credit scores to get that fix and flip loan or that DSCR loan or that other bank loan or anything else you could do.
So if someone has racked up a lot of debt in their personal credit cards, can you pay that off with a business credit card?
Yeah, if you have a business credit card, and some of the beautiful things about setting up these is, I just did one a while ago because I wanted to go through some of the process of doing it, but I just got an 18-month 0% credit card. So I could move, if I had stuff over on my personal side, I could just do a transfer over and it's at 0% because I just opened the account and it's there. and it gets off my credit over here.
Gotcha.
Some of the tricks, some of the roadblocks you come up against is you have everything on your personal side and it's keeping your score down. To get a business credit card, you probably need a good credit score. So you have to figure out a way to pay those down, pay those off. We've talked in other videos about we do usage loans, but you could do the same thing. Take your savings, pay them down, open up your credit cards, and then migrate the monies over there too. There's many options and many tricks to get your money from your personal side to your business side. But the first thing you need is the business credit cards open, available, and make sure there's a couple companies like Capital One that do report. So when you're looking at them, make sure it's not a reporting card. You know, typically your Chases, your American Expresses, a lot of the regional banks like here, BOK, Vectra. So there's a lot of regional banks too that offer really good incentives, U.S. Bank, to businesses to get and take these out because they want you to come in there. They want you to get your deposits and everything else. Another thing, like when I talk about all these business credit cards and stuff, when I talk to investors of setting things up, you go to the big banks to get your unsecured, your business credit cards, your unsecured lines, all that stuff, because they're the ones who, that's their business. That's what they love to do. You go to the smaller local banks to set up the relationships, because when you want to do somewhere down the line, bring on more rentals, or even get into having banks help you with flips, it's your local personal banks that'll help you. So when we're talking about these business cards, you're not going to be able to go to your credit union or bank, typically your local bank, and get the best rates and terms. You're going to have to go to the bigger credit card companies out there that expand the business credit cards into lines of credit too.
So it's utilizing that leverage in, different arenas. So the big banks are where you want to go for a business credit card or a line of credit, whereas the local banks are where you want to go to build relationships for loans.
Yep.
Okay.
And like I said, you could use these business credit cards for your growth, for your business, in bringing on more people, getting, office space, all that kind of stuff, paying your contractors, all of these little things that you could do to, you need so much money to grow a business. This is part of it, as long as you manage them correctly too. Anything else, if you don't manage this correctly, you're going to end up with a lot of unsecured debt that sooner or later, if you don't pay it, is going to show up.
Yeah. So it's not a free money, situation, but it is one of those situations where, you are not penalized for spending more, which makes perfect sense in a business context, that you need to sometimes spend more. You need to spend all the way up to your limit in order to, cover those business expenses. So it's really great this exists. It's not going to report.
Yeah, we just, when we got one of our cards, we just got a bunch of software that cost us, one was $7,000 and one was like $5,000 or $6,000. And we had a 0% for 18 months. So we just put it on there because it's helping us grow. So it's like these cards used in right ways. And, we always say, keep a 0% card every year, apply for a different card and get the 0%. I mean, because in the real estate business, if you're paying 29% on a card or 0% and you have $10,000 or $20,000 on there, it adds up.
Yeah.
And it helps you grow even more by not paying that interest. So manage your business cards correctly too. I always say, like, every year to 18 months, start looking for some other card out there that may benefit you, for the next 12 months to 18 months too.
Yeah. Don't be the reason that these cards make, good money. And they do. I mean, I hear my lazy side coming out when I'm like, I already have the card. I'm not going to reapply. But it's like, that is the only way you're really going to be you're not going to be paying out the, just paying a ton, because those rates are high. What you just said, 20%, 29%.
Yep.
I mean, if you put those in terms of a loan, or something like that, you would that's terrible deal.
And that's, that's when you have to look at it from a different angle too. Like, if you could take $5,000 off a card to put down on a house that you're going to secure other investments off, and you're going to make $50,000, and you're going to pay 29% on that card for 6 months or a year. That's a business expense that is going to cost you, $1,000 or so in interest, depending on how long you keep it. But that card allowed you to secure another property. Then that makes sense. If you're just running up credit cards because you like taking everyone out for lunch and doing everything else, and it's not bringing in money, you're going to hit some headway there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So still, be aware of your cash flow, keep your ducks in a row, all the standard stuff.
Yep.
Cool.
And just make sure, I think from one of this is making sure your business is set up, like we said, to look like a business, to act like a business, which is making sure you have a name, an EIN. All of these things are simple to do. We have a great little program that just walks you through it. Click on this little link and it brings you to the Secretary of State to set up your company if you want to, or click on this and do your EIN. You just walk step by
You
step.
got this
and
on
it's
your
there.
website?
No, it's a product that we offer.
Gotcha.
It's not a free download. No.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's like
sounds good.
it's like setting this up correctly makes this and everything else easy, because you said, like, I already have a credit card. Why I do this? It's a lot of what people think. So there are ways to make that easier for you, because if you spend that day or two or week getting everything set up correctly, the next 3 to 5 years get easier. Instead of like every month is kind of like we see the pattern habit. We help someone with their personal credit, we pay it off, do a usage loan, and then guess what? In 3 months, they're calling back again. Because, some people just don't want to go through the hassle. So you either do it and make it easier, or you just pay to get it fixed every 3 to 4 months. And that's what we're trying to teach people is like, let's just fix this now, do it correctly, and make life easier for you and more profitable. This just opens up more doors. When you have good credit on your personal side, it's going to open up so many more lending options that you just need to take advantage of.
Yeah. Because I know we've talked at other places about the 911 credit score loan. Is that the same thing as the usage loan?
Yep.
Okay. So there's the usage loan that's like, let's fix it right now. But this, getting a business card is going to help more in the long term. It's like you're going to keep being able to do this without having to keep, seeking out emergency measures. And so it's going to save you money in the long run too.
Yeah, like the 911 loan was designed for coming in, paying off someone's credit cards so they can get their bridge loan, their next flip loan, a DSCR loan, or a HELOC, and then they pay off the 911 loan when they either sell the property or refinance or do whatever. Then the third step was, while your credit score is high, get your business credit cards there.
Good plan.
Yeah, so it's like 1, 2, 3, like get the usage so your score goes up, get the loan you need to take the credit card usage of the 911 loan out, and then move everything over to business credit cards while your score is high. You do those 3 steps, it makes it a lot easier. And we're coming up with other things to just make it easier and easier, because we understand people are busy, but how do they do that? Like links to business credit cards that actually don't report, and how to make sure your business is set up correctly in, take an hour to figure out making sure it's set up correctly, and, making it look like a real business. That's all the banks really want.
And it sounds like you said that's a product you offer, so they can reach out to you and learn how to, and you'll show them, the links to go to for both what are the best business credit cards that don't report, but also like how do you set yourself up to look like a real business so that you're more likely to get those business credit cards. Yeah,
it's like 1 through 10, like name check. Is this a good name? Because a lot of banks don't like real estate in a name. So what's a good name? And then how do I search on my state to make sure the name is available? Then once I search, how do I set it up with the state? And like what we're doing and have is like you click on a link and it brings you to the Secretary of State. Because people are busy. You get a book and it tells you how to do it. Then you got to go and like search and figure out. We're just trying to make it easy. I need an EIN number, so you click on a link and it brings you to the IRS site to fill out the form for the EIN.
Yeah, that sounds super useful. It's something I always run into when I'm trying to learn new things. I'm like, okay, I feel so overwhelmed. I'm like, there's just the whole internet here, and I got to use my brain to figure out, does this look more legit than this? So to have somebody that's going to tell me, no, we've already vetted this. This is the legitimate source. This is where you go. Here's where you don't go. I think especially because they're like a lot of, I don't know, in my judgment, like predatory type services that are saying, here, just come through us, and it's very easy, and it's like, and they're trying to get you to buy a really expensive like product where it's like, they're going to create the whole business for you or something like that. I've seen friends actually get sucked into that sort of thing.
And most of them, especially on the corporate credit where you're building it over years, they get you in, and then I would say 9 out of 10 people never get all the way through because it just takes forever. Like, their first credit cards are get office supply, like for Quill, and then start buying office supplies through Quill and then paying them, and then go, like, there's all these different steps. That takes a lot of time. And some people can still do that if they are, like that dedicated to doing it. Our goal is to make it as easy as possible, as profitable as possible, so more people can create the wealth. We always talk about you don't need the formal education to be a multi-million-dollar real estate investor. You just need to understand how to do it, understand your numbers, and to get out there and do it. That's the biggest thing, is just going out, finding properties, finding money, that whole process, and you could create wealth in a couple of years.
So understand how to do it, understand your numbers, and go out and do it. It seems like the business credit card stuff we're talking about today falls under the area of understand how to do it, like how to do it well, So,
and the other thing it helps you, and most people do, is to make sure your business is set up correctly. As you go through this whole thing, is like you might start with hard money, then private money, then you want to get into banking just to get better rates as you go, and then maybe even some other kind of products. But you have to, as you go from hard money to banking, like bankers want to see that it's a real business. This actually takes care of two things. It gets you the available credit to do other things, put your down payment, pay your contractors, all those kind of things, to using it to do your flips or build your rentals, to growing your business. And then while we're doing it, making sure your business is set up correctly in the eyes of the lenders.
And having a business card is going to help do that. It's going to make it seem like you're a more legit business. So it's like two birds here.
And it's going to start creating more business credit. It's going to do all those things. That's some of the other long-term stuff that you're looking for the corporate too.
Absolutely.
And it's just every time you use it, it's going to keep growing as long as you're paying it. Business credit cards, instead of always paying the minimum, you always want to chunk it down a little bit. If you owe $5,000, give them $1,000. I mean, hopefully pay it off so you don't have any interest. But that's, like I said at the beginning, at least 70 to 80% of the people come to us, usage and using personal credit cards is something that's holding them back, stopping them from getting a deal, from making the kind of money they should on deals just because of what they're paying for, what they have to put in. But I think it's mostly the first one is just like stopping them from getting anything because they don't have either the credit or enough money to put down. This will help you with the credit score, and it opens up some doors for you to use those for the down payment or escrow to secure some of the properties.
All right. So if I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting, I want to learn more, where's the best place for me to go?
So we have this great step-by-step. Like I said, it's click and get it done. Click and get it done. They could just, look below. We'll have a link to help them get there, not only to make sure their business is set up, but get them in the direction of the right credit cards too. If they have a question about 911 usage loan or something like that, they could just email me at mike@thecashflowcompany.com. There's a few steps we always do on the usage side. We make sure they run a simulator to make sure it even helps them. That doesn't help them, we can't do that part of the loan. But we could walk them through all three of those steps. Fix the usage, make sure you get it refinanced out. Usage loan is only for 6 months, so we want to make sure that's taken care of, and get the business credit cards. And maybe 3A, make sure you're set up correctly. But we have a great step-by-step. You can get it done in literally hours if you wanted to, or just take a week and make sure your business is completely set up correctly while you're getting the business credit cards too.
Awesome. So go to the link for that step-by-step product, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It'll be right below this video.
And if you have a question about the 911 usage loan, just email you directly?
Correct.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yep.
It's good learning about all this as usual.
Yep.
I'll see you.
Thank
Mike.
you.
Yeah.